Because I have a religious side, or not religious, spiritual. Forget the word religion. That word means to tie down or restrain or hold back. I have a spiritual side to myself, so maybe that's why I got all bent out of shape, because a lot of people, they don't even believe in a God. So my point to that video was just to make sure that you understand that these guys will stop at nothing. They will hit you from every angle. They will get into every part of your life. They create the food that you eat and the bed that you sleep on and the shoes that you walk upon, and they create everything. So if I got bent out of shape, that's why. That's why. It's not anything personal against you guys. I do get knuckleheads on here that watch one video, and because they don't get it, then they've got all the answers. You don't just get all the answers. I bet I don't even know 1/100% of what's going on. I know that there's one major thing involved, and that's that thing that's called Saturn. Now, why is this thing considered evil? I'm going to show you guys in a couple of videos what this thing is and why it's considered evil, why it's called Satan. First of all, man does not need a deity to make him be an asshole. Trust me. You've seen my videos. I'm not possessed, but I can be a real a-hole when I have to be or when I want to be. I think that's the way it is with most of us. This is one of the biggest lies that comes out of the Bible, because it's not a lie if you understand what it is, but it's a lie the way it was taught to you. You're told, for those of you that are churchgoers, and for you of those who aren't, you'll know what the word is. Sin, S-I-N. The word sin is supposed to mean that you're bad, and that because you're sinful, God can't have anything to do with you. The word God refers to the planet Saturn. It does not refer to the Creator, who stands above the one that men have called God, which is the planet Saturn. The word sin comes from it's from physics. It's used in quantum physics. What is quantum physics? Quantum physics has a very old, ancient name, and that name is Kabbalah. Albert Einstein, when he was creating the atomic bomb or writing up the theory for it to work, used Kabbalah. Came up with E equals MC squared. You got what? Five symbols that equal volumes of information. But the word sin has nothing to do with evil. I'll show you how it's connected to evil. Okay? But it is not evil. You are not evil. You are not sinful. You are sinful in a way that's completely removed from the reality of what the word is. It does keep you away from the Creator, but it does not mean that you're evil. These are lies that have been perpetuated. People do not understand that the Old Testament is written in code. And I'm not talking about this bullshit Da Vinci Code crap. I'm talking about actual code as in, high-level physics. Okay? The word sin, S-I-N, comes from the word Sine, S-I-N-E. Okay? Let me get a pen. Oh, I had some magic markers around here somewhere. And I do not know where they went. Wait a minute. I think they're under here. Aha, here they are. Interestingly enough, we have a red and a blue pen. I will show you why the red and the blue is so very important. Sin. Let me just draw this real fast. Okay. Now let me hold this up. It's probably going to be backwards. Yeah, it is. See? Let me put it this way. Maybe you can read it. Okay. That's interesting. I wrote it on the other side. If you look at that, this is a sine wave. Yeah? It's a sine wave. The straight line that you're seeing, that's called linear time. That's going from your birth to your death. Okay? The wavy line, that's a sine wave. Okay? That's a sine wave. Bear with me. The word sine in physics is abbreviated as sin. Okay? Now, there is another wave, it's going to be in blue, that runs along the same line as time. Okay? And what that is it goes like this. Okay? And this one is called a cosine wave, as in cosigner. That's right where that comes from. That's a cosine because it rides the back. It's so tight to the other wave, it's called a cosine wave. Now, you see, you have red and blue, and they both are interacting with time. So, one is time, one is space. Okay? Those two together create time and space. Red and blue, which represents the planet Saturn. The time and space. So why is sin evil? Because sin is the abbreviation for sign, which represents time. And incidentally, the serpent in the garden is right here. Okay? That's the serpent. Okay? The serpent is time. Now I'm going to show you something else. Bear with me for a second. So this comes out here. Almost there. And then this. Okay. And we'll take this. And we'll do this. And I'm going to show you where this ancient symbol came from. Okay? Ready? If we turn it on its end, this is where your caduceus comes from. That's time and space running along a linear, that's a cosine and a sine wave, running along the vertical line, which is sine or sin. Here we have the wings, and here we have the blue and the red that represents the planet Saturn. That's what your symbol is that you see, the caduceus. The single one is just a snake, which is it looks like an S. That's the serpent. Okay, so why do they say that we're sinful? They say that we're sinful, or that you're born of natural sin, because you're born into Sine. You're not born into Seinfeld. That's something different. That's got Kramer and George. Well, you've seen it. You're born into Sine. You're born into time. And when you're born into time, when you're born into Sine, you're born into sin. Now, why does sin keeps you away from the Creator? Why? Because here, that's ruled by time, the circle, and space, the square. The Creator is timeless. There is no time where He exists. This thing that men call God is the God of infinity. So let's look at the word infinity. Let's break that word down. The word infinity. The word infinity. Okay? That's not the correct spelling, but I'm going to give it to you the way that... Infinity. Maybe it is correct spelling. So your infinity. Finity is time. So when you say, oh, I'm going to be with God for infinity. Yes, if you want to stay here, you can be with Him for infinity. It's a loop. You go around and around and around. You have to arise above that and get to where there is no time. So when they say, oh, man's born of natural sin, you are born into the third dimension. And as the Bible says, the wages of sin is death. When you're born into the third dimension, you live in the third dimension, and as we all know, time, given enough of it, destroys everything. Okay? That's why in Revelations, the beast is Saturn, because it regulates time. Given enough of it, it will kill you, your friends, your pets, destroy, rust, break down everything in the third dimensional level. And death is always associated with sadness and wailing and gnashing of teeth. And that is why, it's interesting, because when you look, I forgot to bring this up, when you look at a sine wave written, okay, written in physics, it's red, just like it is here, okay? And because that's sin, and that's in reference to sine, which represents time, and the devil is what color? He's red. Because, see, they took a story of physics and they twisted it and they came up with a bullshit story that some broad, you know, running around in her birthday suit, you know, giggling and ate an apple she wasn't supposed to. The tree of life that they're referring to in Genesis is the Kabbalistic tree of life. And guess who's in charge of that? The planet Saturn. So nobody is born evil. Okay? Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that the two things that people want the most to live and love backwards? Here's love, and here's life. Okay? Here's love and here's life. Isn't it interesting that if you spell them backwards, they both spell evil? Nobody is born evil. Nobody's born into natural sin. Sorry, Christians. Like everything else, first of all, the Old Testament was never supposed to be in your possession. The Jews did not want that out because those stories are coded stories that are written in high physics. All the Old Testament is stories about reflections, light waves, atomic weights, dates, what else? Vibrations, mathematical codes that are what that thing up in the sky creates, that makes the reality that we live in. So for all intents and purposes, that thing is God to this planet, not to me. I believe in the guy that's above him. Problem is, we don't know what his name is. So that's why I believe in Jesus. It's the only guy in between me and the Creator. That thing, what they call Yahweh, is really Saturn. Synergy. This is the continuation from my last video. I want you to look at this. This is how time works, okay? Let's watch the graph here. You see how it goes round and round? You see the green? Okay, you see that's the serpent that's in the Garden of Eden. Okay? You see it? You see how that's sine wave, see that? Okay, you see how that works? Okay, now we're going to move on. I want you to look at the equation, and this is going to explain to you why I know that this is bullshit out of the Bible, what they're talking about. The Bible is not bullshit, but the way that they crafted the story and made you think of something else is. And on top of that, when you're trying to explain physics to a guy, you know, that doesn't understand physics, you have to use other means, and that's why they use the story of the Garden of Eden. So let's look. Look at the way it's written. First of all, the four colors. Red, yellow, blue, green. You see it? Okay, so I wasn't lying about that. Now look at how it's written. Okay, there's 3 axis points there. All right, which is what creates the cube. All right, but let's look at it. This is interesting. Why am I going to go? Why am I going to go to hell when I die? Look what's in parentheses. Cause I sin. Why are we going to hell when we die? Why? Look at the third one down. Why? Our sin. You see, they just crafted a story from physics, and they did that because back in the old days, like I said, in order to get the message across to somebody, you put it in a story form. Okay? This is what this is all about. There's no doubt in my mind. Let's go on to this. Here's the sine wave that I showed you yesterday. It's a sine wave and it's a cosine wave. Okay? If we look, you'll see that sine is written as sin. Okay? S-I-N-E. And it's in red. What color is the devil? He's red. Okay? Let's move on to the next picture. Okay? Here we have a woman with an hourglass. Yeah? Okay? She's got her arm resting on a skull, which represents death. The thing that's above her head is called Oribus. It's a snake biting its tail. Okay? That represents Saturn. Okay? All halos that you see represent Saturn. All circles, the earrings that you wear, women, those earrings are a representation of time. And it comes out of Babylonia. It represents Saturn. Same thing with your wedding ring. This is obviously a picture from a society called the Rosicrucians, which is, I guess they're kind of like Masons. That's why she's holding a rose. But the hourglass and the Oribus above her head, so this is basically telling you that Eve, okay, the story of Adam and Eve, it was time. That was time. It wasn't a serpent as in a snake. It was a serpent as far as time. A sine wave. Okay? Let's take a look at this picture. Okay? Here's good old Uncle Sam. What is it? There's a snake biting his tail. And what colors are they? Red and blue. The sine and the cosine wave that creates time. And if you look at the wings, look on his wings. There's a red and a blue. It's interesting that in politics the Democrats are blue and the Republicans are red. There wouldn't be any occultic activity going on with those guys, would there? Okay, so you saw how that thing works, right? Okay, so let's look at this. This is interesting, and this is a very quick video, by the way. It's just backing up my work. So let's look at this little thing here. All right. You see it go around and around? You see the red colors? Red, yellow, blue, green? That's a time cube. But if we look at it, look how it's split into 4 sections. The circle is, right? Okay. Let's see where we've seen that before. There you go. There it is. You see it's on top of a church. It represents time and space. It has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. It has nothing to do with saving your soul. It has everything to do with a business. The 503, it's a government code. Churches don't pay taxes because it's nothing more than a government installation. And pretty much that's all that I really wanted to show you guys today. You know, the way that it's written out is, you know, you're going to hell because I sin. I'm going to hell because I sin. Why are we going to hell? Because our sin. You see? I wasn't making this stuff up. It's in the Bible. In the beginning, the deception, it's time. Okay, the serpent in the story of the Garden of Eden is time. In Revelations, which is the last book, it speaks about the beast. The beast is Saturn. It says who can bring war against the beast? Nobody, because it's time. Okay? That thing is God. But it's their God. It's not mine. Because there's one higher than that one. You know, that's timeless. When, you know, people say infinity, like I told you yesterday, it's infinity. I-N, like inside. Finity means time. So you're in time. And as I stated yesterday, if you want to go and be with God for infinity, then you're speaking about the God that rules this world, and that's Saturn. And I want to show you something here real quick. Let me grab a piece of paper, if I can find one. Here we go. Let me get my pen. I'm going to show you something. I want to put something to bed here, just so people understand. Let me switch over to camera here. Okay. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Okay. Let me straighten this out. All right. So, we have it's interesting because the Masons have a red and blue lodge. Isn't that what a coincidence? So then we have, I'm going to show you the seal of Saturn. And here it is here. This is the seal of Saturn. You see it? That's the seal of Saturn. That's what it looks like. If you just do a little bit to the seal of Saturn, which is this. Okay. Okay. So I drew it again. You see it on the bottom here? I drew it again, right there. Let's watch when we connect the lines. Now you have the Star of David, which is really the seal of Solomon, and that goes back to the seal of Saturn, which you just saw. But I wanted to show you something else here. The seal of Saturn, you see how they're hard edges? You got points. The sine and the cosine wave are rolling. They're not hard edges, so they just disguised it by making it like this. So the seal of Saturn would really look like this. See it here? That's what it would look like. Instead of being sharp edges like that, okay, it would look like this. Interesting, right? I want to show you something else. There's a thing that people drive around with on their car. It's called a Jesus fish. And all that is a sine and a cosine wave where they're crossing. Okay? Okay? Where they're crossing like that, you see the point? Okay? Right here. And all they did is, right where they overlap, they connected the 2 points. And incidentally, this one over here, right there, in the occult, they use the crab as an occultic symbol, okay, which represents Saturn, and I'm going to show you why. Because all we got to do is put a couple of little claws on this dude. And there you got a crab. Because it's representing the seal of Saturn. Here's your Jesus fish. Okay? It comes from this. Which is this. You know, here's the cosine wave. So you'd have this. That becomes that. And that is your sine and your cosine wave. Okay? So now you understand this is still, it's all based on Saturn. It's all based on time and space. You know, I don't want to offend anybody's religious beliefs. I still believe in Jesus Christ. It doesn't change my mind one bit. But there's a lot of science involved in that book. A lot of those people didn't exist. A lot of those people are nothing more than values and sums. But it's a good moralistic book. It does represent the Son of God, my Savior, Jesus Christ. Aside from that, it's a great moralistic book. You know, but it's encoded messages. You know, I guarantee you, NASA knows more about that planet Saturn, trust me, than they're letting on to the public. Okay, they know way more about that because they've known about Saturn from the beginning of time. That planet is what rules this world, and the sooner that people understand that, the better off they're going to be. They just kept it hidden from you because there's laws in nature and physics. They don't want you or their competitors or whatever to get a hold of the knowledge, so they give it to you in a religious story form. But in reality, churches have nothing to do with looking out for your best interest. Gotta go.
Floating in space. know you realize that life goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun doesn't go down, it's just an illusion.